This video is not for kids. Go do your homework.
Hey everyone, today is the day I am finally going to share my American Girl doll collection with you. I have spent years putting this collection together and I have what I would say is probably the best Samantha collection in the world, and that's what we're looking at today. I'm going to show you all of my white body dolls and I'm going to give you a pretty good peek too at a lot of the collection that I have for her in terms of her accessories and clothes, but mainly today we're going to look at how I display everything. So anyway, let's hop into it. Okay, we're just going to start with probably one of my most favorite parts of my display, and that's where I display my Samantha number 230 that's signed by Pleasant Rowland. If you didn't already know, Pleasant Rowland signed the first 2,500 of each Molly, Samantha, and Kirsten, and it's already hard enough to find dolls in like the 2000s, but this one is number 230, and October 1986 was actually only the second month that they were selling these dolls, so this Samantha was actually basically made in the very first batches of Samantha that were made, and she was probably shipped within a few weeks of the company even launching. She's definitely one of my most treasured dolls, and not only is she beautiful, but just to have that rare low number, she's definitely a highlight of my collection. So that's why I kind of display her high up and in front of the show, or in front of her trunk that has a lot of her first edition clothes and accessories in it. I'm actually going to bring you in a little closer so you can see her signature up close, because one of the cool things about having a signed doll from 1986, which again is the first year of the company, is that Pleasant Rowland actually dated and numbered the dolls. Let me hop down here real quick. This is kind of a spoiler alert, but if you can see some of these later dolls from like 1987, where it says like Molly number 726, 1987, that's actually dated by, I think, one of the employees, so it's only her signature on some of the later dolls, but the 1986 dolls actually are done with all in her handwriting, which I think is so cool to have. You can see that I also have her certificate of authenticity. And again, these are kind of rare too. A lot of these got lost over the years. And again, it's just really nice to see all of this basically handwritten by Pleasant Rowland. It says Samantha 230 and it's got her signature and it says October 1986. So I'm very, very, very proud of this doll. So I'll give you a quick look at her face because again, she's like a first edition. So we're talking like probably early to mid 1986 was when she was made, and she just has those hallmarks of those early dolls with the light amber colored eyes, as collectors like to call them, and she's got these rounded teeth that are smaller than the normal Pleasant Company teeth. And again, like I said, she's just one of my favorite dolls. I think she is so pretty, and yeah, again, just to have one that low of a number is really, really special. So my hands are clean, I promise. I'm having to reach around my camera, but this is actually the original Meet Samantha book that came with her. And you can see here, it's got an unnumbered spine and it's obviously a first edition. But one of the coolest things about this entire thing, other than dropping the pamphlet that I forgot was in there, this book is signed. Hang on if I can get this open. This book is signed and dated by Susan Adler, the author of the book. And what's even crazier is the date on this signature is August of 1986, which means that this book was actually signed before the first catalogs were ever issued in 1986. So it is really exciting to have this book and just to think about the buzz that was happening up in Wisconsin in August of 1986 before they even mailed the catalogs out. Like, they didn't even know if this was going to be a successful company or not. And to have a relic of the past in this book, I just think is so special. And again, a really fun fact about Samantha as well is that I'm not sure, I haven't gotten ones older like this old for Molly and Kirsten, but if you pay close attention to the pamphlet with this doll, it actually says the accessory kits contain small parts which are intended for children ages 6 and older, which they only did that for a very short while. That was very quickly changed to 8 years and older. So some of the ones that came out, like the second version basically, are basically hand scribbled, and you can see where they kind of tried to change the 6 to an 8. So to have one that actually says 6 and older and not be corrected is incredibly rare. I'm gonna try and keep this camera as steady as possible. It's really difficult because I'm not a cinematographer and don't have a great camera, but we're gonna do our best today because I really want to show off this collection because so many of you have been asking. But you can see how I like to have these keepsake book sets on display as well, because the books were a really big part of my basically memories of Pleasant Company, because I didn't have any dolls as a kid. So my only experience of Pleasant Company was through the books and the catalogs. So that's why I like to kind of have them sort of scattered throughout my display, because I just, to me, it's such an important part of the story of these dolls and the reason they exist in the first place. So I really like to have the books displayed throughout my entire collection. We'll have a look in here too. I'm not going to do a complete Samantha collection tour today because I have pretty much everything from Samantha's collection as far as her like outfits and accessories, and most of it's first edition. And I'll do a separate video where we really go through her entire collection and I show you everything I have. But today I just kind of want to show you what I have on display. And we've got up here a first edition book strap set from our school story. We've got a mirror for our trunk, some of her winter amusements, and you can see up here, I'm going to try and zoom in and show you. This is a first edition Clara doll, actually, from her Christmas set. But yeah, anyway, the way we know this is a 1986 is it has a different lace pattern on the front than the normal Clara dolls. But it's really great that she came with one of my other 1986 Samanthas, because it's kind of special to have dolls that came with their original accessories back in the day. I don't know, it's just a fun thing to have, I feel like. And you can see in here, we've got a first edition music box. And if you really peek back there, I'm gonna see if I can get it in focus. It's a first edition locket. It's the rare version from 1986. And I like to have that out, on display just because, it takes a lot of time to hunt all this stuff down. So when I finally get it, I try not to have things in boxes if I can help it, but there's a lot of overflow, so it kind of inevitably happens. Also in here, we have a first edition purse with the blue lining. Again, this is from 1986. And also you can see I've got a first edition hanky and her hat. It's kind of dark back there, so I don't put a lot of stuff in there. But yeah, it's really fun to have all these little things on display, I think, because I spent so much time trying to hunt them down. And so, to get first editions can be really challenging. And so once I finally get them, I like to have them out so I can sort of admire my work. The other thing I have on display in my trunk, which I'll talk about in a second, is I have the first editions of all our outfits. So again, I'm trying to do this by hand. I'm sorry if it's a little wobbly. I'm doing my best. But anyway, this is a first edition nightgown from 1986 with the rare lace pattern. Again, it's pretty similar to the common one, but it's just a little bit different because of that lace pattern. And it took me forever to hunt that down, actually, because they are very, very rare. I've got a 1986 Buster Brown dress with the ivory colored buttons. Really, really cool. I've got a first edition cranberry party dress. It has the long ribbon sash on the front. So this isn't the 1991 version. This is actually the 1986 version. And this like taffeta is super, super silky. And again, it's got the heart lace pattern on the collar. And then I've got a first edition 1987 birthday dress. And again, the main difference on this is the pinafore has a kind of a different pattern on the lace, and I guess it's the cuff of the sleeve. So yeah, all first edition outfits. I'm really, really proud of those, and so I keep them out on display. I actually have all of our other outfits, at least everything like from the mid-90s and earlier, but I don't keep them out on display just because I don't like the trunk to look really stuffed. I kind of like it to look really kind of neatly organized. And I guess that's another thing to talk about too, is I have a first edition trunk from 1986. They didn't make these very long. I'm guessing it was only 1 or 2 batches because they are so, so rare to find. But if you look closely up at the pattern on basically the lining of the trunk, you can see that it's like let me see if I can get it in focus. You can see that's like 4 dots instead of, I don't even know how to describe the standard pattern that we see like from 1987 onwards, but this is kind of a different pattern, and the color is a little bit more red and lighter than what they ended up going with. So even though it's burgundy, it's kind of a lighter color, and I really love this pattern. So it was important to me to try and basically hunt this thing down, and I finally found one. And luckily I bought it on eBay and no one outbid me on it. I'm trying to think what I paid for it. I think I only paid I want to say like $250 for it, which is a pretty good deal for even a standard Samantha trunk, but it was in mint condition and it had the original hangers, which actually I'll show you really quick. Let me grab one. So the original hangers for Samantha's trunk were actually gold. So if you find a 1986 version, if it has gold hangers, that's how you know they're the original hangers. And these have kind of rusted a little bit. I might be able to clean them up, but I think what I'm actually going to do is try and find some black ones that are, actually I already have some black ones that are this exact version. And I'm going to basically I'm going to either spray paint them or use rub and buff to make them gold. So that way I don't have to do anything that's going to harm these. But for right now, I'm actually just using black hangers in there, but I think I'm going to paint them gold eventually. But for now, I do have the original hangers, but I just don't use them because I'm scared the rust is going to somehow tarnish like the original outfits. So I don't use them. I just kind of hang them in the back of the trunk. And again, there's a few other things that I kind of keep in here. Oh, another thing I do too is because I'm so persnickety, I actually like put a plastic lining on the, like anywhere like there's a shelf or anywhere I'm putting anything that's touching the lining of the trunk, I actually lined it with plastic so that it doesn't get damaged. But we have her valise here and a few other things from her like summer and winter story. But yeah, like I said, I like to kind of have everything like displayed, you know, just so. I like to, you know, to me, like that's part of the fun of the collection is to like kind of make an arrangement that's very pleasing to the eye. Well, at least to my eye anyway. So that's why I have things like, you know, I've got this like random Target lamp right here, which ultimately I want to put sconces in this display, but we're moving in a few months. So in the next house, I'm going to do like a permanent built-in display. And I actually think I'm going to go with white shelves instead of the dark shelves. I actually prefer the dark shelves in person, but I think the white shelves will look better on camera because I like to film in front of my display. So I probably will do white built-in shelves, but we'll also build in sconces so the lights don't actually have to sit on the shelves. They'll just kind of be mounted on front of it. And I actually think I don't want to spoil the surprise too much, but I'm going to line the new shelves with the same pattern as the trunks for each doll. So I think that would be really cool for the setup. So while this is technically a temporary setup, I have worked on this for a couple of years. So I just, you know, I really wanted to show it off because so many of you were asking. Before I hop down to the next shelf down, I just want to show you really quick. I actually have a second edition version of Samantha's trunk up on top of the shelves. And if I didn't say already, these shelves are IKEA Billy bookcases and they're in the color black brown. A lot of people have asked me about them and I would recommend them actually if you want something that's fairly affordable to display these dolls. It takes a little bit of kind of jiggling things around to make them fit. And, you know, if you sit a doll down, a lot of times her legs will kind of stick out from the front of the shelves. But all in all, I'm really happy with these shelves. So I would recommend them if you like the look of them. All right, and on my next shelf down is where I display my current favorite 1987 Samanthas. The one on the left you might actually recognize. That was the doll that I did my first YouTube video with. It was an unboxing, like, it was either the day of my birthday or the day after. I think I recorded it on my birthday and then uploaded it the day after. But anyway, that was the first doll that was ever shown on this YouTube channel. And I have to say, I love her just as much as the first day I got her. She's from a little bit later in the year, in 1987, so she's not quite as rare as some of the other dolls that I have, but, you know, sometimes you just find a doll that has a really beautiful face, and you have to have her. I think especially with Pleasant Company dolls, they all look different to each other. I feel like no two dolls look the same, so you could get two dolls from the same exact batch, and they still will look slightly different. So that's one of the fun things about hunting all these dolls down, is not only trying to find ones from specific eras, but also finding ones that you personally think are particularly pretty. And that's been one of my big things with Samantha dolls, is trying to find ones that have those really bright looking eyes with curly eyelashes. And, you know, it can be a challenge sometimes because, you know, they just, not all of them survive super well. You know, some of them have really messed up hair and their eyelashes have been pulled out. So it really is a fun challenge to try and find a beautiful Samantha, especially from like 1986 or 1987. So these are two of my favorite Samanthas from 1987. So like I said, the one on the left, you've kind of seen up close before. And the one on the right is actually one from earlier in the year. She is what collectors will call a big tooth 1987. So her teeth, I'll go in a second. So yeah, if we look up close here, we can actually see that her teeth are quite a bit larger than the average teeth on a Samantha doll. If we compare it to this other one to the left, see how her teeth are a little bit smaller? They're actually larger than normal Samantha teeth, but these happen to be particularly big. And that's a hallmark of an early 1987 Samantha. They only made this style of tooth on the early dolls. So based on that, and she has a scalloped edge on her wig cap, we know that she's an early 1987 Samantha. And again, I think she is really beautiful. Actually, the way I've styled her hair, it makes it look like she basically has a bowl cut with a rat tail, but I swear she has like all of her original hair. It's still there. I just have not styled it particularly well, but yeah, she is in the first edition of the play dress and pinafore. And again, I change these dolls up seasonally. I don't always have them in these outfits, but this is usually the shelf that I kind of play around with the stuff that I have on display. And like, again, it's wintertime here right now, so I have Samantha in her winter outfit, but I'll probably put her in her birthday outfit before long. Usually when spring rolls around, I'll put the birthday outfits on. But anyway, this is my 1987 Big Tooth Samantha, and I actually got her for a pretty good deal. And she came with her original box too, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, I'll give you another quick zoomed out look of this shelf, because my second shelf down for both Samantha and Molly, I kind of like to have some of their early accessories out. Let me zoom in so we can see. Let's see if the zoom works. Is that better? Oh yeah, okay, let's do it that way. Okay, so you can kind of see how she has her lunch. I actually have two versions of her lunch, and that looks kind of stupid, but I just recently got the rare version. I think it's from 1987, maybe 1988, of her lunch, where you can see it has like the tulip pattern on the napkin. I just recently got that and just stuck that on the top there, but I probably shouldn't display that like that because that looks pretty dumb. But then underneath that, I've got the 1986 version of her lunch, and then sort of scattered about around it are all the, like, the watercress sandwich, the peach, the gingerbread man, and the deviled egg, and that napkin. Those are all from 1986. They actually came with one of my 1986 Samanthas, so that's pretty cool to know that that's a first edition lunch. To the left of that, you can kind of see right there that is actually one of Samantha's meat purses from 1987. And the thing that's so special about it is it has a red lining. So in 1986, they all had blue linings. And then in 1987, they had blue linings. And then for like a random period, they were making a bunch of different colors. So you can find Samantha purses that are lined in like blue, red, purple, white leather, which I actually have one. You can see down here, I've got a white leather lined one right there, and then another blue leather, or that's actually just regular, like, I guess polyester fabric. I've got a blue lined one there with some early handkerchiefs as well. But yeah, so a lot of times in 1987, you can see that like the lining on their purses will be different colors, those are really fun to collect. And again, if you're starting to get into collecting some of the rarer early stuff, be prepared to pay a fortune for those purses because everybody wants them and they are so hard to find. And you can see here too, I basically use the keepsake book collections as backrest. I think that might actually be Felicity's books behind the Samantha on the right, but I just think that looks kind of cool to kind of give them a little bit of a frame. So I tend to try and play around with this display every once in a while, and I'm actually due for a dusting. So I'll probably take all this down after I film this and maybe play around with it and see if I can come up with a different kind of display. But for now, I am actually really happy with it, but I think it's just time for something different. And just really quickly, in here we've got her shoes from her shoes and socks set, her white shoes that went with her birthday outfit. That's a first edition Mary Thought mohair bearer from her birthday collection. And then I've got the Stony Clover Lane pouch back there because I think it's fun to have that pattern in there. Then we got like the paper dolls and Valentines, and then just some random extra bows that I have in there. I like the way that looks. But yeah, every once in a while, like when I change a doll's outfit, sometimes she needs a different bow and I just kind of have the bows ready to go. So yeah, that's shelf number 2 for Samantha. All right, and down on my third shelf is actually the real meat and potatoes of this collection, and it's really where you can kind of see the height of my addiction. These are some of the rarest Samantha dolls in existence. A lot of these dolls are from 1986, and a couple of them are actually from before the company even launched, and we'll talk about those in a second. But I'm just going to go down the line and show you each one of my Samantha dolls and kind of just tell you briefly about them, how I got them, and what makes them a little bit different, and why I've justified having so many of these. All right, this first Samantha was actually my first what we call a chipped tooth Samantha, which is basically a collector term for a 1986 Samantha that has the small rounded teeth, and a lot of times the right tooth looks like it's basically had a chip taken out of it. And another thing is the paint is usually painted across the gap. So like in the gap of her teeth at the top, it's usually filled in with white. But anyway, I bought this doll from the original owner who bought her, I guess she got her as a Christmas present in 1986. So it was really cool to hear that story. And I got a lot of like first edition outfits and accessories that came with this doll, which was really, really cool. One of the most interesting things about this Samantha and why I'm so glad to have her is her bangs are completely uncut. If you've ever seen a lot of older dolls, particularly on eBay, where somebody's just gone in the attic and stuck the doll on eBay as is, you notice that a lot of early Pleasant Company dolls have their bangs cut. And the reason for that is the very earliest dolls actually had super long annoying bangs. Let me show you. I'm not going to fully brush her bangs out because it was really hard to get her hair styled in a way that didn't look completely stupid. But when I tell you, like, her bangs go past her nose, I'm not joking. Like, a lot of these pieces, like, seriously, like, go past her nose. That's her bangs. And so when you look at that, you can see why so many early Pleasant Company dolls have their bangs cut. Some of them aren't this bad, but this is one of the worst. And I am so grateful that somebody somewhere didn't cut the bangs, because it's so hard to find a Samantha with bangs this long these days. And on top of that, it's super difficult to style them. So I'm going to try and quickly fix her a little bit so she can see again. But yeah, that is a very rare thing to find with bangs that are completely uncut like that. Let's fix her eye. Boop. But see, you can even see here, like, these bangs are trying to hold her eye open. Her eye's not broken. It's just, you know, if the bangs push down on it, like, her eye kind of looks like it has ptosis or something. But anyway, yeah, a super beautiful Samantha. She's got eyes that are kind of on the medium light range. They're not the brightest eyes I've ever seen, but they're still that amber color that collectors really try and seek out, which is so beautiful. And it looks so much like the catalog. So I really love this Samantha. Another cool thing too is she actually came with the original rare version of the locket. So if you can see here, that engraving on her locket is actually not the standard version of it. The standard version is actually on this doll here. I don't know if we can see. Yeah, see how it's a little bit different there? I know that's not a great shot, but that kind of highlights the difference between these two things. And again, this locket is very rare and it was only made in 1986, so it's very hard to find. But yeah, that's one of my 1986 Samanthas, and I really cherish this doll. Next in line is actually probably my least exciting Samantha on paper. She's a very late 1987. Again, I got her from the original owner. She got her for Christmas in 1987. And you can see her teeth, again, are a little bit larger than the average Samantha, even though they're not like the biggest I've ever seen. So, you know, all in all, this doll isn't insanely valuable, but I did pay over $400 for her, which I think is a little bit much. But sometimes you just see a doll and she has a face that just really speaks to you. And like I said earlier, you know, not every single doll is going to look perfect. You know, a lot of times they have sort of strange looking faces, and you know, it's a subjective thing too. You know, what one person thinks is a beautiful doll, another person might think is really ugly. But I think this one is particularly beautiful. I really love the way her face looks, and I just had to have her. So I did pay a little bit too much for her, I think, but I don't know that I'll ever sell her. I also really like the way her bangs are cut too. Again, because she's a later 1987, they're not like insanely long. I don't think that they were cut by the owner. She said they weren't cut. So I think this is how they were done in the factory. And it looks like a bowl cut, and I think it's really cute. All right, I'm gonna hop down on the front here really quick because I want to show this doll in the front so I can get her out of the way so you can see the other ones. But this is a Goods doll, and her name is Belinda. Belinda has kind of become the mascot of my TikTok channel because, as you can see, she doesn't look like most other dolls, and she has a very interesting look on her face, we shall say. I've actually really grown to love her. It makes me kind of chuckle every time I look at her face, but the amount of times I get told that this doll is ugly, like, I wish I had a nickel for every time somebody told me this doll was ugly and freaky. But yeah, I've just kind of gotten to where I kind of love her now. But the cool thing about her is she was made in early 1986. She was actually in the 1986 Goods catalog. And obviously, if you're looking closely, you can see that she is wearing the same dress pattern as Samantha's meet outfit. So again, if you didn't already know, Pleasant Rowland basically approached Goods to manufacture her dolls. So when they launched the company, a lot of the stuff that they were making was, brought from other lines. And particularly like with the dolls and their outfits, they basically took what was available at Goods and tried to, again, I wasn't there, but you definitely get the sense that they took a lot of what was already available, probably to save on cost and also just to get things made quicker. So that's why you see a lot of things in the Goods catalog. You're like, wait a minute, was that Samantha's dress pattern I saw on that doll? But yeah, this doll was a really lucky eBay find. They're a little bit rare, I think. I've only seen a couple on eBay in the last few years that I've been looking. So I feel really lucky to have her, especially because she's basically in mint condition. She has her factory braids and everything. But yeah, I have another doll that's in the same dress, so I'll show you that in a second. I just kind of wanted to show you Belinda because this is the doll that Pleasant Rowland looked at and said, that's the dress pattern I want for Samantha. All right, I'm gonna take her out of the way now so we can see the dolls that are behind her because they're even more exciting actually. So speaking of Goods, this is actually another Goods doll. Most collectors will call this doll Romina, but that's actually not her name, and it kind of like pains me to even call her that because these dolls were actually numbered. They weren't given names by Goods. Like if you look in the Goods catalog, they just had like a 6-digit number or something. So this doll never originally had a name, because there were a bunch of different versions of her. You could get her like with blonde hair and different colored eyes, so there are a bunch of different versions of this doll and they were just numbered. They never had names. So yeah, these dolls were always numbered, the ones with the hard vinyl bodies, which I'll show you in a second. But so this is essentially the prototype for the Pleasant Company dolls. If you've never seen one of these before, this is actually a real treat, I feel like. This doll is the doll that actually Pleasant Rowland purchased the licensing rights to. So all of the Pleasant Company dolls are based on this doll. This doll was actually made in 1984. So yeah, 2 years before Pleasant Company sent out their first catalogs. These dolls are actually pretty rare, so they come up on eBay from time to time. They aren't like impossible to find, but for the most part, be prepared to pay like over $1,000 for one, because especially if she's in good condition and has her original outfit, they are really sought after because they basically look identical to the Pleasant Company dolls and they have the original hallmarks of the original dolls, like the rounded teeth. And this one has some pretty bright colored eyes that are the same color as Samantha's. So that's really cool. But she has wigged hair and it's in a different style than you would see on a Pleasant Company doll. But again, this was all done before Pleasant Company launched. So this is basically the German version of the Pleasant Company dolls. Okay, I've hopped back a little bit so you can see. The dress that I have on this doll is actually another dress that came off a Belinda doll. So Belinda was the only doll that had this dress, but I just wanted to put it on we'll call her Romina, even though that's not her name. I wanted to put it on her because this sort of feels like a prototype Samantha doll. So I think it's just a really cool way to display her. She even has the original Goods shoes. They are exactly like Samantha's meat shoes, but they're white. And yeah, one of the coolest things about this doll, actually, this is a little weird, sorry, but you can see that she has a hard vinyl body. She's not a cloth body doll like the Pleasant Company dolls. Like, this is hard vinyl, listen. So yeah, that is one of the most interesting things about them and they're actually really heavy too. Like, to pick this doll up, she weighs a lot more than like a Samantha doll does. And another really cool thing actually is their heads tilt because their heads are articulated. Like, you can actually tilt her head to the side like that, which I think is kind of cute. A lot of people think it's like really creepy, but I like it. But anyway, we'll put her head back where it was. All right, next in line is probably the doll I would say that is the most valuable of my non-signed dolls. This is a 1986 Samantha with the brightest colored eyes I've ever seen. So again, collectors call this color amber. Like, anything that's on the lighter side for Samantha eyes are going to be called amber. They're just like a warmer brown color. And these are really, really light. If you look at her compared to the dolls next to her, I don't know if it's how obvious it is in this shot because the one next to her actually has bright eyes too. But this doll here has insanely bright eyes. And I think that she would probably fetch a pretty penny if I went to sell her. And I'm actually kind of thinking about it because I have so many 1986 dolls. And there's some other things I want to buy. So I might sell her so I can get some other things. But for now, she lives with the rest of the 86 Samanthas. But yeah, she just has that really super early. But yeah, she just has that really super early. Oh my God, what is wrong with my voice? But yeah, she just has that super early look of a Samantha doll. And, you know, if you compare her to like a Samantha from even like 1991, they almost look like completely different dolls between the differences in the hair color and the eye color and the tooth shape and everything. So she's a really special doll to have in my collection. For now, at least. Oh, I feel like it should also go without saying, all of my Samantha dolls that I have on display are white body dolls. The only non-white body Samantha doll I have is my 35th anniversary doll, which I actually have her to the side right here. She's really not on display, but I do have her. And funny story, she was actually my first Samantha doll I ever bought. So I really went down the rabbit hole after this one. So anyway, on to the next. All right, next up is another, basically it's the same doll. Again, it's why I probably need to sell at least one of my 1986 Samanthas, because she's another 1986 chip-toothed amber-eyed Samantha. This one, after having her for a while, I think I realized her bangs have been trimmed a little bit. Again, we kind of discussed that earlier. These bangs were so long that parents basically came in and did a great clips treatment on them. But she's still really cute. And again, I think her bangs probably look worse than they normally do because I've kind of neglected her for a little while. But this is actually the doll that I did a mini rehab on, I guess a few weeks or months ago on my YouTube channel. So you can hop back and watch that if you want to see it. And we kind of talk more in depth about this doll. But yeah, she was pretty much meant, especially her hair, she just needed to be cleaned off a little bit. But that was a fun video to make. And yeah, this is another one that's going to be hard for me to sell if I decide to sell her, because, you know, these dolls, they probably don't seem rare because I have so many. But when I tell you, I have scoured eBay every single day, multiple times a day for years, and I've only been able to hunt down this like small few of these 1986 Samanthas. So they really are rare and they're very sought after. I just happen to have more than the average person. All right, and finally on this shelf is my first 1986 Samantha, and if you take a quick look, you can see she's one that has very large teeth, and she sort of has like medium to dark amber eyes. I actually think it's really fun to have a Samantha from 1986 with the big teeth and darker eyes, because they're actually a lot rarer than the ones that have brighter eyes and smaller chipped teeth. From what I can gather, these were probably shipped around November of 1986, because I actually have one that's signed and dated from November of 1986, and she has pretty much the exact same head. So I'm going to assume this doll was probably shipped sometime around November. I really, really love her. And again, she was basically mint condition. She has her factory hair set. And when I got her, I don't think she had ever been undressed either. I think somebody just bought her and left her in a closet for 30 plus years. I really, really love this doll though. Even though she's probably not as sought after as my brighter eyed, smaller tooth Samanthas, I still really love this one. I love the way her hair looks. But yeah, like I said, I love a doll with good bangs, and you know, they're just like a little bit too long, but not too long. And I'd say this doll fits that bill. So yeah, I love her. So yeah, here's one last look at my Samantha army. And yeah, I like actually kind of shudder to think how much all of these dolls combined are actually worth. You know, I got good deals on some of them, and some of them I paid probably market price at the time when I got them. So this wasn't a cheap shelf to put together, but I'm very, very proud of it, because to me, this is a slice of Pleasant Company history, and it's just so important to me to have and experience these original dolls. It was just, you know, I only had the catalogs as a kid, like I said, and in those catalogs for years, they only showed pictures of like 1986 and 1987 dolls. So that's why I've decided to kind of seek out dolls from the first couple of years, because I really want the stuff that looks like it did in the catalog. So yeah, just to recap, 1986, amber-eyed, chip-tooth Samantha, 1987, dark eyes, standard teeth Samantha, 1984, numbered Goots doll, which we call Romina, but I don't like that. 1986, amber-eyed, chip-tooth Samantha, 1986, amber-eyed, chip-tooth Samantha, and 1986, dark amber-eyed, big-tooth Samantha. Again, this is my little Samantha family, and I'm so proud of them. All right, and finally, my last shelf on the bottom is probably my least exciting shelf, but again, it's so close to the ground. I feel like if I put dolls on there, you can't really see them, so I like to just kind of have their table displays or, you know, just some interesting accessories on the bottom shelf just to kind of fill them up and have something on display. But it's just, you know, I feel like dolls don't look really good on the bottom shelf, so I decided to use this to set up Samantha's birthday tablescape. This is such a beautiful collection. I really love having this because the quality is so amazing, and you don't see children's toys that are made to this standard anymore. Part of that is because it would cost too much, and secondly, it's just so fragile. I feel so lucky to have a mint condition version of this set, and even though a couple things in here are not from the very first year, they're pretty much identical to the first year stuff. So my wicker table and chair set actually was a local find, which is the one and only thing I've actually gotten in the car and driven over and gotten. And I was like super embarrassed at the time because I was still kind of new to collecting. So I feel like now I would probably go over and chat up a storm with the person I was buying it for. But when I tell you, it was like at a yard sale and it was $50 and I really wanted it. So I was like, okay, I'll get in here, like I'll pretend like I'm buying it for somebody else and just get in and out. So it was actually really kind of sad, but it was a growing experience for me. And now I've kind of like have no shame about any of this stuff. So at least I've done some growing since then, but I really do love this set. It's so beautiful. If I didn't say already, this is a 1988 table and chair set. It was released in 1987, but the only difference of the 1987 version from 1988 is the copyright year on the tag. So eventually I might try and find one, but it's not that big of a deal to me to have furniture from the first year. It's just, it can be difficult to find in good condition. So this is good enough for me, at least for now. And again, you can kind of see I have the full collection of her birthday stuff. So this her party treats, that's complete, and it's first edition. You can see here, so yeah, you can see here, this is actually the version of the Pettifours that have the attached candles. Like this doesn't come out. So actually you can see here it has the Silvestri sticker on the bottom too. Let's see if we can focus here. So yeah, Silvestri was a company that made a lot of the food stuff for Pleasant Company in the early days, and the earliest stuff will actually have the Silvestri sticker still on it. So that's pretty cool. And another cool thing you can see here too, this is actually the first version of the tablecloth for her lemonade set too. So I think mine is from early 1988. Again, I'm looking for a 1987 version with the original box, but this I think is actually identical. I think it's just the box that's different between the version I have and the one from 1987, but still, I want the original box. And if you follow me on TikTok, this is actually the set I was messing around with when I made that video that got like 150,000 views. I thought that was pretty funny. So yeah, this is one final pan of my entire Samantha collection that I have on display. Like I said, this isn't everything I have. I have a lot of stuff that's like mint in the original boxes, so that's all sort of in storage for now, but this is what I have out, and this is what I look at every day, and it just brings me so much joy to finally have this because, I just love to think back to myself as a 6-year-old that wanted these dolls so badly, and I finally get to say that we did it. We got them. And that's my Samantha collection. I am really curious to know what your thoughts on it are because I know that this isn't your typical American Girl doll collection. Like I said, this has taken me years to put together, and it's been basically day in, day out, all day, like checking eBay, obsessively. So yeah, this is just part 1 of 3, and hopefully I'll get the next part up in the next few days. So we'll move on to I would say we'll do Kirsten, Felicity, and Addie next. So anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and letting me show you my doll collection, and I can't wait to continue doing it. Also, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. It really helps me out a lot, so I really appreciate it. And until next time, please take care of yourself, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.